Hello and welcome to another Jay's Politics Blog podcast, part of the Podcast 99 Network. You can reach us at podcast99.org or directly to me at jpoliticsblogpodcast@gmail.com. This is This Week in U.S. Politics, episode number 2. Going to stay a little local today, and we're going to actually look at today's edition of the Olympian. So, what I'd like to bring up today with this article, or specifically an article within it, is actually the headline article. State lawmakers exempt themselves from records law. Now, we passed a records law in the state saying that public documents related to elected officials are reviewable by us. Now, I haven't even read the article yet. I saw this on the newsstand today, actually. Saw it at work in the papers that we got today. And I was just like, wow, really? I kind of skimmed the first page. I'm not allowed to read the paper on the clock, and I didn't think to buy it until after my lunch break, so I didn't get a chance to pre-read it. So I figured, worst case scenario, I am actually going to read it on the air. So the key thing about this bill that's been passed is that the measure is retroactive, shields legislators' records from the media. This is by Rachel LaCourte of the Associated Press in today's Olympian. That is February 24th, 2018. Washington lawmakers overwhelmingly approved legislation that makes some of their records public in the future, but will circumvent a recent court ruling that found they are already fully subject to the state's public disclosures law. The measure retroactively removes the legislative branch from the state's voter-approved Public Records Act, so that lawmakers are able to attempt to shield records sought by the coalition of media groups led by the Associated Press, who prevailed in the court last month. Sorry, I'm going to take a drink of water here. Now, with this, the state Senate voted 41-7 to approve it on Friday, and then the House approved it 83-14. This means that the bill is heading to the Governor Jay Inslee, and it is veto-proof. They already have enough members voting for it that even if he vetoes it, they can go back and override his veto. The quick action comes just 2 days after the bill was introduced. Only 4 lawmakers spoke during the brief debates in both chambers, all saying that the measure is intended to increase transparency. The bill, co-sponsored by Democratic Senate Majority Leader Sharon Nelson and Republican Senate Minority Leader Mark Schloessler. Wow, sorry. Or it might be Schuessler. Sorry. Not very good with some names. Sorry about that. Allows the release of some lawmakers' correspondence, including those with lobbyists, information from lawmakers' calendars, and final disciplinary reports beginning July 1st. However, because of the retroactive language, it would prohibit the release of records being sought by a coalition of news organizations that sued last September. The bill is significant and a major step forward for the people of Washington and in the institution as we step into the sunlight, requiring that what I believe are the most important disclosures for people of Washington to hold their elected representatives accountable, said Democrat Representative Jerry Pollett. The legislature is appealing the January 19th ruling of Thurston County Superior Court Judge Chris Lansley, who ruled the state representatives and senators and their offices are fully subject to the same broad disclosure requirements that cover other local and state elected officials and employees at state agencies. Senate Republican Minority Leader Mark Schuessler said that the ruling would be too broad and completely unworkable. Sorry, that's a quote. That quote, completely unworkable. Just as important as transparency is the ability of lawmakers to effectively work on behalf of those who sent us here, he said. Republican Senator Mike Socia, who voted no, said that the rush process and ultimate outcome feeds into the cynicism that we see, and that we can't trust politicians. And that's just the first page. I gotta turn it to page 4. However, like it's like the the Republican senator here in the last paragraph said, when I read this, that's immediately the first thing I thought. You don't want me to know what you did in the past. So therefore, how can I trust you as my elected official in office to represent me honestly? Now I understand that they're trying to be more transparent going forward, and that's fine. But I should still get the same respect coming for the past records. What does that say to us? What does that say to the law, to the voting public? That that you can't trust the news media? You don't trust them to report on you honestly? Well, if you weren't hiding things, then why shouldn't the media trust you? It's sorry, trying to get a coherent thought out there and just mouth getting dry. But again, why should our media trust you if you don't trust them? Why should we trust you if you don't trust the media? That's one of those things. It's you want us to trust you, but you won't trust the media. We trust the media, but you don't trust them. I mean, it's going to be a vicious circle argument going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Now, give me a minute and I'll turn the page here, but at the same time, I'm just like, how is this even possible? How are we not allowing um how are we allowing our representatives to hide from us in this way? So, give me just a moment here. I'm going to turn the page. So I'm trying to make sure I've got the right chat window up in case somebody decides to come in. Also, if you're a football fan, I just heard that Blake Bortles signed a new 3-year, $54 million contract extension with the Jaguars. Not that that's really politics, but I just got the news, so I thought I would share it. All right. Guns. Bill, right? Yep, we're looking for the article named Bill. You know what? Rather than folding up the whole paper, I got it right here. Single sheet. Sorry for the noise, but it's the joy of newspapers. Like some people, I actually enjoy holding the newspaper in my hand versus reading it on a tablet or an e-reader. So there we go. All right. So again, this is going back to Mark Miloscia, Miloscia. Sorry if I've butchered your name. I'm sure I did. We're going back to quoting him. The legislature should be leading on transparency, not giving the impression that it is hiding stuff. Under the measure, the exemptions from the disclosure would include records of policy development, as well as any records that would violate an individual's right to privacy. While final disciplinary reports against lawmakers would be subject to disclosure, emails or other documentation of allegations of things like sexual harassment or misconduct that does not result in an official report, which were among the records the News Coalition was seeking, would not. Let's take a break right there. Here's the thing. If you are accused of something, yes, you have the right to a trial. You are innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. But this speaks to your character. If you were doing something that would be considered sexual harassment, you have to own up to those actions. Whether you agree with that they are or not is not at fault, or not the point here. The point is you've towed a line, and you apparently put a toe over that line. we have a right to know that, hey, you have done something potentially wrong here. Let's have it investigated. Whether it goes on an official report or not, it needs to be investigated. Now, the media, for their part, and when I say media, I'm including myself in that because doing this podcast is technically media. We have an obligation, an ethical obligation to report the facts, but we have to investigate those facts. So, so and so is saying this representative touched her in an inappropriate way. We can investigate it and find out all the information, and the investigators can be transparent with us. Or we can just go with the hearsay that we're hearing from this person who's accusing the representative. Now, that accuser might say, oh, well, he touched my breast, or she touched my inner thigh area if it were, a woman assaulting a man. But what it might turn out to be is that he patted her on the shoulder like this. Oh, touched me in an inappropriate area. Or she might have, went to reach out for his hand to do a handshake and misjudged the distance and hit his thigh, outer thigh. You can't really see where I'm pointing at, but if this was my thigh, she could have hit here on the side. It's entirely different than, what happened. But then again, it could be true. Sorry. But when we're discussing things of allegations, the hard part of the fact is that we've had so many frivolous lawsuits in the country, both civil and criminal, that people have cried wolf so many times that it is hard for somebody like me to believe all accusations. I want to believe that somebody is sexually harassed or somebody was raped or whatever the case may be. But I'm not going to jump to the conclusion that the person that they're accusing is guilty until I have the proof. I can't get the proof if I can't get the reports, if I can't get the information about the incident. What part of this is not supposed to be available? When you run for office, you are basically giving up some of your privacy. Not all of it, but some of it. And what happens in your office is public. You were put there by the people of your district, of your area. You are their employee. You report to them, which means if my representative or my senators do something that is questionable, I want to know so I can hold them accountable. What's wrong with that? Anybody? Is there anything wrong with that? I don't think there is. Do you know of any reason why that would be? Anyways, next paragraph. We got about 5 or 6 more paragraphs here. Any person wanting to challenge a record's denial would have to seek review by the Senate's Facilities and Operations Committee or the House Executive Rules Committee, whose rulings would be final. Unlike denials under the state's Public Records Act, no review by the courts would be allowed. Yeah, I see a lot wrong with that right there. Basically, that means I asked for the record, in my official capacity of doing my podcast. I find out that somebody's done something in the state legislature and I want to find out about it. I submit a request for the records and they come back and tell me, nope, and that's it. What? I don't think so. That is totally bogus. Yes. Now, again, this is all for stuff going on in the office, stuff going on basically when they're on my dime, basically, my taxpayer money. Things that go on in their personal life, their home, their non function dinners. If you go out to eat, say, you're going out to eat with a bunch of friends up at Maggiano's in Bellevue as a representative. You get a little drunk and you grope the waitress or the waiter. As long as you're not there in the official capacity of your job as a legislator or as a representative of your district, that's something that, yes, I will ask the information for as a media person, but I don't necessarily need the information. It's kind of that hazy area, because I personally agree that there are certain parts of people's life that need to stay private. That's their own thing, you know? That's why I don't share my address on here. I don't say, "Hey, please send me stuff here, blah blah blah." No. But when you're performing in your official capacity of your job that you're being paid for, you then are responsible. If I ran for office, which I would love to do, can't afford to, but I would love to do, if I got elected, I would expect that I'm held to a higher standard than average Joe Schmo out there. Because I represent average Joe Schmo. He elected me. Well, he or she elected me. Not necessarily true, but possible. Then I need to live up to the standard. That should be every elected official, not just state legislature, but federal, city council, everywhere. But yet we don't we don't see that coming from our representatives all the time, especially with a bill like this. This tells me that you do have something to hide that you don't want me to know. Whether that's your intention or not, that's your problem. You presented a bill, you passed this bill through a rushed process. Didn't give it full debate and just let it go. And yes, you all voted. What were those numbers again? Oh yeah, 41-7 in the Senate and 83-14 in the House of Representatives. Do we see a problem here? Maybe just a little, just a little. I don't know. Back to the article now. An attorney for the media coalition that said the group's litigation would continue, and that the effort to make the law retroactive would be part of the ongoing case. Quote, I'm assuming this is from the attorney of the media coalition. Quote, this is not a transparency bill, said Michelle Earl Hubbard. This is them choosing to provide a few records that they feel, if they feel like it, and then when they feel like it, without enforcement power. It, that made no sense. Let me read that again. This is not a transparency bill, said Michelle Earl Hubbard. This is them choosing to provide a few records if they feel like it and when they feel like it without enforcement power. Okay, now that I've read it a second time and slowed my reading down, I understand what they're saying, what she's saying here. Is that this is the legislature saying, yeah, we're going to give you this little tidbit here. Well, stack over here, here, let's take the first couple pages. Here you go. Be happy. You're done. And then the media coalition be like, well, actually, no, we have right to all this information due to the Public Records Act. And the legislature's like, no, with this bill, no, you don't. As a matter of fact, you're done. You don't get it anymore. Totally agree. Now, it's unclear that whether Inslee, who has said he believes lawmakers should be subject to the same transparency laws as other government officials, would veto the bill, especially since there is enough legislative support to override the veto. Besides the Associated Press, or AP, the groups involved in the lawsuit are Public Radio's Northwest News Network, King TV, Cairo 7, Allied Daily Newspapers of Washington, the Spokesman Review, Spokesman Review, the Washington Newspaper Publishers Association, Sound Publishing, Tacoma News Inc., and the Seattle Times. That's the end of that article. Again, that's me reading it to you. That is me giving my rawest opinion of it. And it just, wow. How can they think? How can they believe that this is an okay bill? That this is a transparency bill if they're able to hide information from us, if they are able to say that, "Oh, this isn't a part of official record, so therefore you don't get access to it." No, I I should still get access to it, and that's, again, me speaking as a media person. I'm not gonna lie, I could go and apply for press credentials with my podcast and say, "Hey, I want to cover the state sessions." I'd have to jump through hoops to prove that I'm what I am and all that, but at the same time, providing that I'm doing it honestly and ethically, I should be treated the same as any other media outlet. As a as a citizen of the United States of America, and specifically a citizen of the state of Washington or resident of Washington, my representatives work for me. They represent me. Even if I did not vote for them, they still owe it to me to represent me in a fair light. I mean, come on, people. Sorry, I ate something on my way home from work today and it's dried out my mouth. Anyway, so here, I'm going to go and I'm going to have a link to this article in my show notes here, just so you can see it if you have access to the Olympian. If not, um, well, I'm sure you can find a way of getting to that article. All right. So, sorry, I'm getting my work up. Like I said, I have really, I know I'm late, and whew, boy, that's just, it's been a rough day. Anyway, so let's see here. Let's go. All right. Let's see here. Bam. I'm, I'm going to go find my local legislatures. Let's see. I'm going to share my screen while I do this too, so you can see how transparent I'm trying to be with this. So, Washington State Legislative members. And let's go to House and Senate. And we can go. And this is basically, you can get to this through access.wa.gov, but it's app or app.leg.wa.gov/rosters/members/house. And let's see here. This should, oh, you know what? I'm going to go over here and find my district first. Ooh, I'm not going to put in my street address. All right, I'm going to stop sharing for a second. Not that I don't trust you people, but I'm not going to dox myself. So, all right. And now I'm going to delete, delete, delete. Just so you don't get the full, you know, just so you don't get the full information of where I live. So go back to share my screen. And here we are. My state my state senator is Tim Sheldon, and my representatives are Dan Griffey and Drew McEwen. Now I believe Drew McEwen is for North Mason and Dan Griffey is for South Mason. Uh, Matter of fact, I'm just gonna go right here. Da, 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 da. 31st 35th district. Wow, I can't speak today. And we'll just scroll down to McEwen. There are a lot of Ks. There we go. And 35th district. So, there are my representatives. We, as a state, the residents of the state, need to stop them from doing this. We need to stop having them tell us that we are whether or not we are or are not capable of knowing information about them in their public job lives, or lives, I should say. All right. So, as I've thrown now the paper all around where I'm at here. All right. This week has been CPAC, the conservative CPAC. Conservative. Oh, God, I can't even remember anymore. All right, let's go to the conservative. Conservative Political Action Conference. I knew it was something along those lines. Anyways, so CPAC. That's been going on this weekend. We had the president there. Yep. Hey, sure enough, I could have even just held up the picture. I could have just sat here and held this up, this front page picture. And right in the caption, it tells me exactly what CPAC is. So I know that sounded pretty awful. It was right on the back end of the microphone. And this is the first year since I've been really following politics. I did not listen to a single interview. I did not follow anything on CPAC. Considering that I want to do an entire This Week in U.S. Politics news. And what I mean by I didn't listen to any interviews or didn't follow anything, I didn't watch anything live, didn't listen to the radio live from there. All I did was flip it on for a half an hour on my way home, listening to the best of Steele and Unger from this week at CPAC. And they had on there Governor Gary Johnson. I thought when they got to the whole gun control issue, the whole deal with Parkland High School shooting, on Valentine's Day. I thought he had some of the most eloquent points made, but the most important one is that he was talking about a survey that he saw where 75% of the teachers in this country would oppose carrying a firearm, but there's still 25% that would consider it. And if all you need is a deterrent, 25% could be a very good deterrent. You never know which teacher is going to be the one carrying, especially if they're licensed as a concealed carry permit user. Now, I'm not saying I want guns in schools, but but in the light of all the mass shootings we've been having in schools and the lack of response by police officers, sheriff departments, things like that, and if you caught Dave Bowman's show today live, or if you go back and listen to the podcast or watch the video on YouTube, he had a guest on there that he interviewed who got him started in talk radio, talking about this very topic. And his guest is a former police officer. Dave is a former nuclear weapons security guard. So am I. And the tactics are different for each group, and we don't know. And the guy that the resource officer could have, in fact, may have fallen on some old training that he just was wrote into his mind, into his body. People react differently to things. I mean, if you watch any of my submarine videos that I've shared on my own personal Facebook page, I'm a big fan of this documentary that shows from the 90s the submarine wet trainer, the damage control wet trainer. You don't know how you're gonna respond to that the first time you do it. You get the class, you're sitting there like, "Oh, yeah, damage control, I can bandit this, I can bail I can band this up with, twine, the marlin rope, things like that. You can add patches, you can plug it with things, they teach you how to do all this stuff, but until you're actually there and doing it, you don't know how to respond. And then as you continue to train, you develop the memorization, you develop how to do it. As you're tested on how to do it, you retain it better. You start learning it better. And that leads all up to the qualification process, earning your dolphins in the Navy as on a submarine. Trying not to tangent off on that. But as Dave and his guests were talking, it's it's very possible that these sheriff's officers, these deputies, and this resource officer all fell back on an old training that they knew because it was wrote into their mind. This is how you react in this situation. And here we are screaming about these guys not doing their job when in their mind they were doing their job based upon what they were trained. Sometimes when you get new training in a stressful position like that, you don't remember exactly what your training says. You have to go off of instinct. And I can't stress that enough. I mean, again, just relating it to training in the military on a submarine. When it comes to damage control, most of us are not thinking. Most of us are not fully grasping the situation. We are just responding to the stimulus in front of us. If it's a flooding incident, we're trying to keep the water out of the people tank. If it's a fire, we're trying to put the fire out before it causes more damage that we can't surface. If it's, any type of gear failing, we are trying to solve, we're trying to get it solved so we can operate in surface again. Police officers, whether they're, local beat cops, whether they're detectives, whether they're sheriffs and their deputies, they all have particular training that they're supposed to follow. They have been trained and time again. Same thing with EMTs, paramedics, firefighters. They are all trained to do tasks. They're all trained to do things and respond to the stimulus and not necessarily 100% stop to think because sometimes stopping and thinking will cost more lives, including your own. I mean, honestly, I feel for the people that have lost their lives in all of these shootings. Like I said before, the news carrying this and sensationalizing these points of views can just be like mind numbing because it's like, oh, we've had another mass shooting. Here we go again. Here's the gun control crowd. Well, you say guns are the problem, but I could say it's mental health. And then people bring up, Australia, they banned their guns and blah blah blah, but they also have universal health care, so therefore they can take care of the people with mental issues better than we do here in the United States because everything's for profit here in the United States. Well, I don't say everything. I shouldn't say everything. Most medical care is for profit. There are those that operate for not for profit. I mean, there's some that work purely on donations, and if they don't go black that year, sorry. That's the thing about working as a charity operation or not nonprofit or not for profit. But tying this all back to the gun control, I am again very much pro Second Amendment rights. I believe that we should be able to own guns. I believe that there should be reasonable limits and reasonable responsibilities by gun owners for things. Like I stated last week's episode, that I feel that if you if you own a gun and for whatever reason you leave it locked up at home and you get robbed and that gun, say if it's a small one or if it's in a lockbox, is stolen, first call to 911 is to say my house has been robbed and I own this gun, and you should have the paperwork with you right there. You should have it in a spot that you can go to. It's basically like a 911 file, and it's a checklist. Excuse me there. Beauty of having a mixture with a mic with a mute button on it. Anyways, what what I'm basically just trying to get at with these shootings is we need to stop sensationalizing them in the media ourselves. Yes, we need to talk about them. Yes, we need to address the issues. I'm not saying that at all, that we should just ignore them. But we can't just go off spouting that it's an issue of guns or too many guns or it's all about the guns. We also have to understand who it is that's doing the shooting. We need to understand why they did this. What is the reason behind it? That's part of the investigative process that the police go through. Now, yes, the FBI, the school, the local police, they all dropped the ball on this, and I'm not going to sit here and say the media should not hound them on this. Of course they should. But at the same time, they need to do their own due diligence and also understand that, hey, this is this is what was going on in this kid's life, and that this is how this all came to be. Not just quickly jump on the gun and be like, oh, it's all guns' faults. It's all gun owners' faults. No, it's not. We have to understand what our rights are. We also have to understand what our responsibility under those rights are, and we also have to make responsible choices state by state, as well as at a federal level in response to guns. This is something that all sides of the table need to come to and be willing to work with each other. I'm not kidding. Every time I hear about gun control bills being put into state legislatures or anytime I hear them being put into the Congress, I'm like, that's going to fail. Right off the bat, I just know it's going to fail. You know why? Not because of the NRA backing these politicians or anything like that. A lot of these people do own their own guns. They don't want to have their rights taken away. And the people who do want to introduce these bills, the people who do want gun control, don't want to come to the table and meet and hash this out in a reasonable way. It's all about the extreme politics again. It's all about Party A and Party B coming to the table and just shouting at each other rather than stopping to listen to each other. You know, the first real thing that I saw as a good sign towards gun control was when the NRA was like, "Yeah, we'll back things to not allow bump stocks because there's no point to having a bump stock. Really, there's no reason to have one." Now I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember the exact quotes that the NRA were giving at the time. This was following the Las Vegas shooting. But shortly after there, I was hearing that the NRA is like, "Yeah, no, we don't have an issue with this. That's the first step that we need to take." And the NRA was taking it. I don't know exactly how. I don't remember exactly how the liberal side of things took it, but it's the first step of many to get there, and that's where we need to be. That's where we need to go. Is step by step. Yes, we are still going to have even with gun control, even with all the how to put it, all the measures that we could put in place to prevent situations like this from happening again, they can still happen. It's gun control is not foolproof. Even banning all guns is not foolproof. Even if you and why on earth you would want to give it to just the military, just the police force, I have no clue. For all the people that complain about police brutality and things like that, yeah, let's just let them have all the weapons. Let's not defend ourselves. But also at the same time, it's like, oh well, you want police to do their job, but here, let's give them, pepper spray and maybe a taser. Oh wait, tasers could cause death that way too. Yeah, let's minimize the way the police can, do things. Well, that's not going to be very effective even without guns. I mean, there's ways around improvising any weapon out of anything. So are we going to start taking away ballpoint pens? We're going to start taking away pencils. We're going to start taking away plastic silverware. Although we should for a whole another reason. But even if you made it out of recyclable wood, I could still make a weapon out of that. I mean, heck, I can make a weapon out of this bottle right here, and this water. Should we ban this as a weapon? I've got a reusable metal water bottle in my car that I use at work. Should I have that taken away from me, or should I have to have a license to have it to say that I'm not going to use it as a weapon? Because I could use it as a weapon. This is what we face. This is what our military members face over in Iraq and Afghanistan: is IEDs, improvised explosive devices made out of everyday objects. That'll be the next thing if we ban all the guns, even if we were effective in getting rid of all the guns. You know, it wouldn't take long for somebody to figure out how to do things with other ordinary everyday devices. So we're going to start banning everyday household things that we need, like bleach, um, other acids and other bases. I mean, when is it going to end? For some people, it'll only end when we get rid of all of organized religion. For other people, it'll be only when all of organized religion is consolidated under one religion. And very few of us just want a balance of harmony between everybody. And when I say a few of us, I mean that really we want everybody to have a balance. We want everybody to be peaceful and balanced and harmonious with everybody. But we don't all agree on how to get there. That's where our politics are. That's where we are in this gun control debate. We can sit here and take all the first steps we want, all the baby steps we want. But until both sides stop shouting at each other over what needs to be done, actually come to the table and discuss the matter. Once we start getting the lobbyists out of Washington, out of Olympia, out of Salem, Sacramento, Carson City, Boise, Helena, totally lost my Cheyenne, Wyoming, Denver, um, Phoenix, I believe. Yeah, Phoenix, um, Albuquerque, uh, Salt Lake City. Do I need to go through the other 50? I mean, Honolulu, Juneau, um, St. Paul, Bismarck, was it Pierre, North Dakota? Um, yeah, I mean, Omaha, Austin, Oklahoma City. Um, I mean, again, it's just until we, the people, take back our government, it is a government for the lobbyists and the rich. Hold your representatives accountable to you. And I'm going to remind you again. Article here in Olympia. State lawmakers exempt themselves from records law retroactively. Is that really, you know? I mean, I don't even know what else to say to that. We sit here and we allow it. But, I mean, really, we sit here and allow it, and that's all. It's all fine and dandy until something like Parkland happens. And the next one, and the one after that, and then if we manage to stop one thing, we'll improvise another way. So on and so forth. Anyways, On the lighter side of things, I thought my football show this last week was pretty good. I hope more people will watch it. I also hope that you guys will come over and check it out. It's on my YouTube page under the sports podcast playlist. I also have this under the politics playlist, and we will be starting a science educational podcast. Yes, it is going to be a lot to do with flat earthers, but I'm also going to do separate segments about what I know about for like submarines, what I know about aeronautics, and heck, just general fun about anything. I mean, I might even include my like. I'll probably include my like videos that you know talk about science, like in a good way. I mean, this isn't part of the podcast 99 network, but check out Sci Strike on YouTube. That's capital SCI space capital STRIKE space exclamation mark on YouTube. And for family friendly fun on science, Science Sundays, usually about 2 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. Eastern time. Sci Strike and Indy talk about something scientific. They did one on Voyager around the same time that the was it PBS did their documentary on Voyager, which is also available on Netflix. Um, they did one for space stations, talking specifically about Skylab and Mir and all that, leading up to the International Space Station. I think it was the anniversary of this International Space Station. Excuse me again. Sorry. Uh, but get out there and learn. Get out there and explore a topic that you're not familiar with. For me, it started out. I've always loved social studies, always loved civics, always loved politics, but I've never really delved into it, never jumped into it. And I find that doing that a couple of years ago, by listening to POTUS, because I literally was sick of the left side of the left news, political news channels like MSNBC and CNN and all that, and I was sick of Fox News and all those other ones. That when SiriusXM came out with POTUS, that is my go-to. Yes, they're not always as balanced as we would like, but they try to be, and that's their motto. Is like we try to present the balance, but in some instances you just can't. And I just again pick up your newspaper. Even if you don't pick it up daily, if you go to a restaurant and there's one on the table that's just been left there, read it. Immerse yourself in what's going on in your city, in your state, in your county. I know I'm just kind of rambling here, but it's just blows my mind that my state legislature thinks that they should not be tied to this public records law. I mean, really, come on now, guys and ladies. You really think that your public job life, I have no business knowing about it, whether it's on official record or not? Think again. I'm actually going to try to pull up this bill. Actually, I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to pull up that bill right now. What do I have up here? Okay, so I have CPAC. So we're going to go and share my screen. No, not that one. We want that one. All right. And we're going to go to Bing, just my favorite search engine. I'm using just Google Chrome. Bing has always kind of been my favorite. So, state law. State legislature voting records. That's what I'm looking for. No, that looks like a. That could be. But I want the actual. Aha. There we go. Let's see. All right, sessions. I want to see where they're voting at. Voting record. Track bills. There we go. Oh, I've got to have an account. Well, that'll be interesting. We will do. Oh, let's see. What number should I pick here? Oh, let's do 84. Anybody about my personal email, I'm gonna find out because I don't like spam email. I could just not share my screen during this, but password in a second. Alrighty, submit. Thank you for registration. Gonna stop sharing long enough to go check my email. All right, let's see here. Not now. Alrighty. All right, let's see here. Let's check out. Oh, let's check out the topical index. And I'm going to go back to share my screen now that I'm logged into this system. Now I feel better now that I'm actually into the system. I can actually start doing this on a more regular basis and just track out things. So let's see here. We want public records. Let's just go down to here. Let's go to P. Apparently not. Take forever to get there. Public Records Exemption Accountability Committee, or let's go with Public Records and continue. Oh, this is taking forever. Yes, I'm on Wi-Fi, I understand, and it takes a while. Shouldn't take this long. So while we wait, shall we do the crossword? Or shall I read the funnies to you? Oh, a little quicker than I thought it was going to be. Oh, public records. See records. All right, so let's go back a page then and let's see here. If you get a chance to check out the Flying McCoys comic, that was pretty funny. All right, are you really going to be doing this? All right, come on. Do an RSS feed. Okay, so let's see. This one is supposedly in committee. Oh, this goes all the way back to. Huh. This is not the right one. Let's take a look here. Let's check out one of these other bills here. Let's do SSB. Enacting recommendations by Sunshine Committee. Okay. All right. I guess this is going to be a fruitless effort for me right now. Because this is interesting. What is this? All right. Something ain't right here. So let's see if I can do a search in general here. Let's go home. Huh. Does the article say what the bill is called? All right, let's try. Run for all bills. Okay. This could take a while. Why did I do that? All right. Let's see here. All right. Yeah. Not what I wanted to do. Bills by sponsor. Nelson, right? Let's go with. Don't do it. Oh, no, we want Senate. There we go. All bills. Nope. Let's go with that. Learning experience for all of us. Alright. So looking for Nelson over here, so don't mind me. Oh, that's not it. That's not it. Oh. Ooh, what's this one? Senate resolution. Oh, that's not it. Although it would be an interesting bill to read, and I just logged out of that. Son of a biscuit eater. Don't worry, I've already changed the my password on that. Let's go home. All right, let's go with Senate. Let's go with Nelson. There we go. I know. Page size, let's go with all. All right. Actually, why am I doing it like that? I should just do it by date. Duh, Jay. All right. Nelson. Legislative Records, ESB. I bet you this is it. It's on the governor's desk. I bet you this is it. Let's see if we can pull up the documentation. Oh, wow. Yeah, this is it. All right, so here's the bill. Sponsors by Senators Nelson and Schoessler. An act relating to the records disclosure obligations of the legislative branch amended RCWs 42.56.010, 0.070, 0.090, 0.100, 0.120, 0.520, and adding a new section to the chapter 1.08 RCW, adding a new section to 42.52 RCW, chapter 44.04. Okay, basically, new section. The legislature intends to clarify that the legislature, like the judiciary, is a branch of government rather than an agency of the state, as in the terms for use under Chapter 42.56 RCW, the Public Records Act, and that the legislature is subject to separate disclosure requirements arising from its representative duties. Beginning in 1986, the Supreme Court of Washington has ruled that the Public Records Act did not apply to the judicial branch because the judiciary is a branch, not an agency, because there is a common law right of access to the court records, and that because the Public Records Act did not specifically include the courts or court files. The state Supreme Court has since adopted comprehensive rules to provide public access to case records and administrative records of the judicial branch. Similarly, the state constitution requires the legislative houses to maintain journals and to publish those journals except such parts that require secrecy. Okay, so secrecy. What does that mean? Oh, I'm running up on an hour here. Okay. Anyways, I will link this bill right in my show notes. So you have direct access to this bill, and you need to get out there, read it, and let your representative know how you feel about it. So, going to end it here. Thank you for watching. This is Jay with Jay's Politics Blog Podcast, part of the Podcast 99 Network. You can reach us at podcast99.org and contact me directly at jayspoliticspodcast@gmail.com. And have a wonderful weekend. I don't know where else to end on this. It has just been a long day. I've been up since 3:30 this morning. But anyways, just ask that you guys, follow along with all of us here at Podcast 99. Get out there and share our stuff with your friends. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Facebook. Like literally select follow, get notifications, whatever the option is, so you can get our stuff. Otherwise, your Facebook timeline will not show our postings at all whatsoever. So get out there, like us on Facebook. I'm getting a Twitter handle. Don't worry, I'm working on it. because I actually have a Twitter handle. I forgot what it was. I'm trying to dig it out. So, once again, this is Jay with Jay's Politics Podcast, part of the Podcast 99 Network. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your Sunday and get ready for the baseball season.